Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh and a very good day to honorable panel. I am delightful to have this chance to deliver my presentation. Before I start my presentation, I would like to introduce myself. My name is Muhamad Arief Zahari and I'm from NSR 2416M2. Today, I would like to share my research to you, and my title is Relationship between Risk Perception, Safety Knowledge towards Compliance of Safety among Tioman Scuba Divers. For the first one, which is background of the study, risk perception refers to an individual view or belief that danger may occur in a situation without him realize it. It varies in importance depending on the individual age, education level, occupation, and participation time. According to Yale 2020, a strong predictor of behavior change behavior model demonstrate that people risk perception can lead to a certain behavior in health-related situation, which related to the scuba diver that may have risk perception by himself. Safety knowledge is where you have learned everything you need to know about scuba diving fundamental, such as safe entrance, environmental awareness, and a proper equipment use. According to the Hoffman, 1995, an employee comprehension of safety operating procedure and the receipt of a proper safety training and instruction. Compliance of safety regulation is critical when scuba diving. This is critical because it to a certain the extent with which their perception of danger and their safety knowledge influence the safety compliance with this athletic activity. According to Niel 2000, safety compliance is defined as adhering to a safety procedure and carry out work in a safe manner. Next is statement of the problem. Scuba diving is one of the fastest growing marine sports according to Ong and Musa 2012. As more and more people become diver, appropriate measure to respond to emergency during diving and the level of safety perception or knowledge various efforts should be made to ensure the security of scuba diving. The precedents and the current domestic researcher mostly deal with the safety knowledge, safety standard, diving accidents, and the risk perception according to the Byung Cho 2019. However, the study of perception of risk diver may face with safety-related knowledge or perception of treatment in emergency are still lacking. For the research objective, the first one is to identify the risk perception of Salang Pulau Tioman scuba diver. The second one is to examine the Tioman scuba diver level of the knowledge on safety in scuba diving activities. The third one is to determine the relationship between the risk perception and compliance of safety among Tioman scuba diver. The last one is to determine the relationship between the level of knowledge and compliance of safety among Tioman scuba diver. Next is a literature review. For the risk perception, according to Yale 2020, who stated a strong predictor of behavior change behavior model demonstrate that people risk perception can lead to a certain behavior in health-related situation. For the safety knowledge is the knowledge and skills for safe operation that operator must possess, including the ability to identify potential safety hazard and make timely decision in usual sense, according to the U 2013. For safety compliance is defined as adhering to a safety procedure and carry out work in a safe manner according to NIAL 2020. For the theory of this research is social action theory by Mellon 2004. Social action is about people coming together to help improve their life and solve the problems that are important in their community. It can include volunteering, giving money, community action, and simple neighborly act. As for scuba diving in Salang Pulau Tioman, Scuba diving community help the scuba diver to improve their life, which related to the risk perception on danger that may happen. By overcome the problem, scuba diver need to follow the safety knowledge within compliance of safety to ensure their life will be safe and secure. So this is the conceptual framework between risk perception, safety knowledge towards compliance of safety among Salang Pulau Tioman scuba diver. Next is methodology. For research design, this research is quantitative research and the material used was survey approach and questionnaire given. It is conducted by using a Google form for data collection and was distributed to the scuba diver via social media platform such as WhatsApp, Facebook, and email to collect the data. Next is sampling. The sample of this research will be Salang Pulau Tioman scuba diver. The inclusion will be scuba diver that certified in Salang Pulau Tioman. The exclusion will be scuba diver that in Pulau Tioman other than Salang. Convenient sampling technique is selected in this study refer to the collection of information from member of population who are conveniently provided. For the sample size, by using Criqui and Morgan 1970, the total population in Salang Pulau Tioman scuba diver is 148. The sample size of this research is 129 that are participants, which is scuba diver in Salang Pulau Tioman. For the instrumentation of this research, questionnaires are divided into 4 sections, which is Part A is demographic profile, Part B is risk perception scale, Part C is safety knowledge scale, and Part D is compliance of safety scale. For the section A, which is demographic profile, include gender, age, involvement in scuba diving activity, level of diving certificate, diver level, and total diving trip. For the section B, which is risk perception scale, include 16 items covering with the 5-point Likert scale, and the Cronbach alpha is 0.939. For the section C, which is safety knowledge scale, covering 19 items with the 5-point Likert scale, and the Cronbach alpha is 0.934. And the last one, which is section D, compliance of safety scale, covering 10 items with 4-point Likert scale, and the Cronbach alpha is 0.926. Next, it will be data collection procedure. This is the process of data collection procedure. Firstly, the researcher need to get ethics approval from the scuba diving community. The second one is the researcher need to ask the permission to do a research from the supervisor. The third one is the researcher need to give briefing to the sample about the study and the questionnaire. The fourth one is the researcher need to distribute the questionnaire to the sample. And the last one, the researcher need to collect the questionnaire and the data. Next is data analysis. Data analysis include research objective and data analysis. For the first one is to identify the risk perception of Salang Pulau Tioman scuba diver. And the data analysis will be descriptive statistic with frequency and the percent. The second one is to examine Tioman scuba diver level of knowledge on safety in the scuba diving activities. The data analysis will be descriptive statistic with an standard deviation and mean. For the third one is to determine the relationship between the risk perception and compliance of safety among Tioman scuba diver. The data analysis will be Pearson correlation. For the last one is to determine the relationship between the level of knowledge and compliance of safety among Tioman scuba diver. and the data analysis will be Pearson correlation. Next, it will be the result. For the actual sample size will be 129 respondents, which is a Tioman scuba diver. But due to the COVID-19, all scuba diving community, all scuba dive shop are currently closed from October to December, continue to the February. But I have collected around 54 respondents of Tioman scuba diver. This is because they are currently closed and they are incooperative and inactive to do help for my research. For result research objective number 1 is to identify the risk perception of Salang Pulau Tioman scuba diver. There are the highest mean and the lower mean. For the highest mean, with the question of consumption of alcohol before diving, with the mean score is 4.56 and the standard deviation is 0.965. Continue with performing diving without additional training with the mean score of 4.48 and the standard deviation is 0.885. And the third one is insufficient emergency assistance plan provided by dive center with the mean score is 4.38 and standard deviation is 0.878. For the lowest mean, with the question is diving with malfunction or failure of equipment with the mean score is 3.50 and the standard deviation is 0.906. Continue with in contact with the subject of marine life with the mean score is 3.67 and the standard deviation is 0.971. And the third one is diving at the depth of 40 meter. The mean score is 3.98 and the standard deviation is 0.981. For the result research number 2 is to examine the Tioman scuba diver level of the knowledge on safety in scuba diving activities. They are the highest mean and the lower mean. For the highest mean is with the question, it is necessary to have hand signal for communicate with the mean score is 4.76 and the standard deviation is 0.432. Continue with before diving. I must have diving practices and skills with the mean score is 4.65 and the standard deviation is 0.588. And the third one is I must always dive with the buddy rather than diving alone with the mean score is 4.65 and the standard deviation is 0.731. For the lower mean, with the question is to get our body attention underwater, I need to touch and wrap on the cylinder with the mean score is 4.06 and the standard deviation is 0.998. Continue with I need to carry along with a dive knife which used as practical tools with the mean score is 4.11 and the standard deviation is 0.861. And the third one is I must have some knowledge of marine life with the mean score is 4.24 and the standard deviation is 0.799. For the result research objective number 3 is to determine the relationship between the risk perception and compliance of safety among Tioman scuba diver. It shows in the table that there are significant relationship between risk perception and compliance of safety with the R equal to 0.484 and the p-value less than 0.05. For result research objective number 4 is to determine the relationship between the level of knowledge and compliance of safety among Tioman scuba diver. It shows in the table that there are significant relationship between level of knowledge on safety and compliance of safety with the R equal to 0.867 with the p-value less than 0.05. Next, it will be discussion. For discussion on risk perception, based on the finding of the study, it showed that Tioman scuba divers are aware of their feelings on risk perception, whereby they know whether they have risk or not. This indicates the Tioman scuba divers are taking serious on their risk perception, whether it is safe or not. The result on the finding are aligned with the YELP 2020, a strong predictor of behavior change. Behavior models demonstrate that people's risk perception can lead to a certain behavior in health-related situations. For discussion on safety knowledge, the study found that most of the respondents acknowledged on having the level of knowledge on safety due to scuba diving. According to the Hoffman, 1995, as an employee, comprehension of safety operating procedure and the receipt of proper safety training and instruction. The researcher thinks that having a knowledge is to help mitigate risk. Understanding about the safety can help to ensure safety of scuba divers and help avoid accidents from occurring. Discussion of compliance of safety. This study found that most of the respondents are correlate on compliance of safety with a knowledge on safety during scuba diving. According to NEL 2000, safety compliance is defined as adhering to a safety procedure and carry out work in a safe manner. The researcher thinks that having a compliance of safety by a scuba diver can help them to avoid from accidents or injury that can happen during diving. For the conclusion, above all, the researcher found out that the majority of the respondents capable to handle the risk perception in effort to manage themselves during scuba diving. There are significant relationships between risk perception, safety knowledge towards compliance of safety among Tioman scuba diver. With the knowledge of safety by a diver, it can help them to deal with the risk by according to a compliance of safety by a dive center. Lastly, by having a knowledge of safety during diving, it can help the diver to perform their dive trip safely and achieve their goals within in a safety zone. This is the list of references that I use in this research. So that's all for me. Thank you.